This is CBC Vancouver News.
I don't believe why they have to create such a station.
Concerns about foreign interference on Canadian soil. We have new details on the so-called Chinese police station in Richmond.
It's a human right to have access to education.
Frustration for people who are deaf and hard of hearing in BC. The only school for sign language interpreters has stopped taking new students.
The important people are the ones that are there 365 days of the year.
And hospital holiday cheer. Santa drops by to say hello to young BC patients. Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. It has been a busy day for homicide investigators on the Lower Mainland. We start tonight with a deadly shooting in Chilliwack. RCMP say they responded to a report of gunshots around 6 p.m. at a home on Windsor Street, just south of Yale Road. They found a man suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to hospital and died there. Mounties say this appears to be a targeted killing and is not believed to pose a threat to the public. It's not yet clear if it's linked to the Lower Mainland gang conflict or another problem. Anyone with information is asked to call the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team. Mounties and IHIT in North Vancouver say a woman has been stabbed to death in Lower Lonsdale. Officers were called to an apartment building on West 3rd Street around 11 this morning. First responders tried to save the victim, but she died at the scene. Mounties did arrest one person. They said the suspect and victim did know each other, but they are not saying how. IHIT has also taken over that case. We have new details to share with you about so-called Chinese police stations on Canadian soil. There's concern about growing foreign interference here. Leanne Young has more on Richmond's Wenju Friendship Society, which has made headlines before.
It's discreet, but the message is clear. The Mounties are watching. An all-black cruiser parked directly outside the Canada Wenju Friendship Society. Neighbors say police showed up Saturday with questions.
Have we seen any suspicious activity? Do we know what's happening there? How often the activity was? How many cars?
The couple did not want to give CBC their names out of fear of reprisal. They and other neighbors say the society was bustling with people but didn't seem suspicious from the outside. Last week, human rights group Safeguard Defenders flagged the presence of Chinese foreign police stations, identifying one in the Vancouver area.
Most countries, we believe, yes, it's a network of individuals rather than thinking of it as a physical address and a physical police station where people will be dragged into.
More than 100 worldwide, and this isn't a covert operation. They're proudly reported on by Chinese state-owned media. They call them service stations to help Chinese nationals with non-criminal activities, like eye exams for driver's license renewals, so they don't have to fly back. But some are skeptical.
I don't believe them because it's been done for the last how many years. It's been done through the Chinese consulate. So I don't believe why they have to create such a station.
Tang works with dissidents who have fled from China. To her, the stations feel like an open threat from the Communist Party.
If you dare to say anything against them, we have a tool, or we have something or some shop here to able to do something about you and your family in China.
Safeguard Defenders claims they have evidence of police station personnel persuading suspects who are abroad to go back to China to face justice. RCMP won't say why they visited the Friendship Center, only sending a statement which reads in part, they are investigating criminal activity at the so-called police stations nationally and is aware that foreign states may seek to intimidate or harm communities or individuals within Canada. No one at the society answered when we knocked, and calls went to voicemail.
After leaving a message, you can hang up or press pound for more options.
Hi there, this is Leanne Young. Its website says the society strengthens ties between people from Wenju and Canada while proudly supporting the Chinese government. That's the society's president donating to the consulate at the height of the pandemic. And their reach extends into domestic politics. Dinners inviting guests like Liberal MP Wilson Miao and Richmond councillor Chak Au seen here.
The fact that, I have joined in some of the social events organized by one particular group doesn't mean that I endorse whatever they're doing.
And in an email, Mal's constituency office says he receives a number of event invitations every year. Wenzo Friendship Society has made headlines before, accused of buying votes during the 2018 election. Mounties investigated then, but found no one willing to come forward. The outcome of this latest investigation is still to be seen. Leanne Young, CBC News, Richmond.
People who are deaf or hard of hearing in BC are frustrated. The only program in the province to train sign language interpreters is not taking on any new students. Douglas College says not enough people have signed up. Zara Premji has more with the help of an ASL interpreter.
Oh, disappointed. Really, really disappointed.
8-year-old Aurelia Braun loves dance, music, art, and playing with her big brother. She's one of thousands of BC children who are deaf and who would benefit from having an interpreter even as they get older.
Oh, I want to become a musician for myself. And I really want to have an interpreter with me the whole way. You know, I want to be able to understand the words. I want to be able to have that interpreted. Whatever I produce, I want the world to be able to access.
Already, Braun and her family say it can be a struggle to find ASL interpreters, especially on short notice. And there are signs the search is about to get even harder. Douglas College, the only school in the province that has a program to train sign language interpreters, has suspended enrollment for next year. It says that's because of very low enrollment for fall 2023, and it looks forward to welcoming students again in 2024.
Oh, it's not fair. I want there to be more interpreters, not less interpreters. I need more people to be aware. I want to know what people are saying. You know, I don't know what everybody's saying, so I want that access.
Aurelia is a fourth-generation deaf individual. Her dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather are all deaf too.
If you are on Zoom and everyone's on mute, it becomes like, hey, you're on mute, I can't hear you. That's my daughter's access to the world around her right now. And so if there is no interpretation provided, then she doesn't have that access.
During our interview, Dan gives us an example of what that silence can feel like.
And I'll ask the interpreter to resume and interpret what that was. So what I was saying as I was signing was that you couldn't understand what I was saying. The interpreter is here for both of us today.
According to the Western Association of Visual Language Interpreters, there are just over 250 interpreters in the province for the thousands of deaf and hard of hearing people. And the Braun family fears it's about to get a lot worse.
Accessibility allows for deaf children to have the same education that their hearing counterparts would have access to. It's a human right.
In a statement, the province says it is in discussions with Douglas College on ways to support the program's delivery and access to it.
What happens to these students who actually want to apply right now? Are they going to put life on hold for a year?
Whether or not the program returns to Douglas College in 2024, the Braun family says it will continue to advocate for generations to come. They just want the government to know that hearing individuals and those deaf or who are hard of hearing should be afforded the same opportunities. Zara Premji, CBC News, Surrey.
More now on that house fire we showed you last night in East Vancouver. It sent one woman to hospital badly hurt. Fire officials are urging you to be extra careful over the holidays. John Hernandez has more on a record-breaking year for fires in the city.
A dense cloud of smoke suffocating this East Vancouver neighborhood just after 9 p.m. as a fire burned through a home on Nanaimo Street.
Well, at first I just got this giant face full of smoke through my window, and it was really quick, and I immediately knew something was wrong. So I jumped out of bed, looked on my balcony, and I just see this mushroom cloud of smoke.
Fire crews arrived to find a resident trapped on the roof and screaming for help.
Some of our first on-duty crews laddered the building and rescued that individual. That individual was suffering from burns, from what I believe, burns and smoke.
That person is in hospital in critical condition. 2 others were treated for smoke inhalation. 3 pets died. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, but officials say it was likely smoking related, and smoke detectors never went off.
And that always concerns us. right? Especially as we go into the evenings and times when people are sleeping. If this fire had have occurred a couple of hours later, it could have been devastating.
The incident comes at the tail end of what's been the busiest year on record for Vancouver Fire, one that's seen about 60 fire-related injuries and 9 deaths. And with the holidays now here, crews expect even more calls in the weeks ahead, so they're urging everyone to be fire smart.
With Christmas trees, a couple of really key points is keep it watered. Especially if it's a live tree, make sure you keep it watered. Make sure you're not overloading your circuits with your plugs, right? Not too many power bars with things plugged in. Any kind of heating devices, keep them away from your Christmas trees as well.
Tips that can hopefully prevent the city from logging more fire-related tragedies as this challenging year nears its end. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Charges have now been laid in the alleged robbery of a Port Coquitlam car dealership, which caused chaos for drivers late last month. The suspects are accused of shooting at police officers during the rush hour chase. Mounties say Kwabena Bosiako of Port Coquitlam and Omar Demetris of New Westminster have both been charged with 1 count of robbery. Police previously reported that the pair were seen stealing a vehicle from the dealership near Lougheed Highway and Dominion Avenue before taking off and crashing it. The 2 men were arrested that same day. Police said they are searching for 2 more suspects. Vancouver police have seized nearly $3 million worth of drugs as well as guns and cash after a year-long investigation into an organized crime ring. It was launched last year against a trafficking operation allegedly manufacturing and distributing fentanyl pills disguised as regular medication. They were sold in the downtown east side in exchange for cash, among other places. In October, police seized 72 kilos of the fentanyl-laced pills, along with coke, meth, and benzodiazepine.
We're going to target people that are doing the most harm, those that are manufacturing these toxic substances, those that are trafficking them at a high level, those persons that are importing them into our country. I believe that that's what's involved here with this group.
Police also seized 3 handguns, ammunition, body armor, and more than $120,000 in cash. So far, 3 people have been arrested, but no word yet on any charges. A judge has now ordered the City of Vancouver to reconsider a decision to deny a development permit for a new tower in Chinatown. The proposal for BD's project at 105 Kiefer was turned down in 2017. Neighborhood activists worried the project would worsen unaffordability and it wouldn't fit with Chinatown's character. But last week, a BC Supreme Court judge found the developer had a legitimate expectation of receiving detailed reasons for the rejection. City staff say they are reviewing the decision. A lot of excitement for Argentina soccer fans today. Legend Lionel Messi scored just over 30 minutes into the World Cup semifinal game, converting a penalty kick into a 1-0 lead. Fans at the Croatian Cultural Center watched in disappointment, though, as the game eventually turned into a 3-0 rout. Croatia faced off against Argentina in 2018 when they beat them 3-0.
A little bit disappointing right now at the result, but
of course we're very sad. It was a tough loss. The early penalty kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit.
Well, I am an Argentina fan. I have been forever. I teach Latin American studies at Langara, so it's in my blood. But I have to say, going into the game today, it was really tough because I always love the underdog.
Argentina is now heading to the final to face off against either France or Morocco. Those 2 countries play tomorrow, and the deciding match for the World Cup happens Sunday at 7 a.m. our time. One of Vancouver's most distinguished museums is shutting its doors for much of next year. The Museum of Anthropology at UBC will undergo seismic upgrades to the Great Hall. That closure starts in mid-January and is expected to last until late 2023. The university says the project, which has been underway since last year, is aimed at ensuring Indigenous treasures are protected for the future.
It's really disheartening. It's really hard to think that there are people who want to come here and won't be able to. Sometimes people who this is their only trip ever to this part of the world, and they wanted to be able to engage with the museum, and we were unable to meet that request. That's very hard for us. We so much enjoy sharing everything that is here with other people.
Though the building will be closed, the university says the museum will continue to help Indigenous communities get access to the collection. Tours, special events, and other learning programs will also continue. There is some better news for salmon in our province. Recovery efforts have cleared the way for 2,000 coho to make it to their spawning grounds. This comes after last year's floods created a log jam across parts of the Coldwater River.
The first thing that happened was the First Nations crew from the Nicola Watershed Stewardship and Fisheries Authority were surveying the river after the floods, and they found the logjam and reported it as a potential problem to a working group that included a lot of people such as Pacific Salmon Foundation and DFO of the province of BC. So there was monitoring of that logjam, and this fall, people weren't sure if salmon would get around it or not.
The Coldwater is one of BC's most important salmon rivers, and when the floods threw logs and sediment across that waterway, the fish couldn't get to more than 10 kilometers of important habitat. In November, crews cleared a channel so the salmon could travel upstream. 6 days later, an overhead flight saw nearly 2,000 coho in a spawning habitat on the other side.
Last year, 2021, was a party, and we're having a bit of a Christmas hangover.
Christmas light displays are usually pretty dazzling this time of year, but things seem to have toned down. We'll tell you why after the break. And hello to everybody watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. Pressure is mounting on small business owners in Windsor, Ontario. Customers are not coming back through their doors. Some say they're struggling to keep the lights on, and others are considering shutting down entirely.
People are just not coming through the doors anymore.
Dreaming up recipes in this kitchen, creating specialty products for a community he adores. But he says consumer habits have changed dramatically. He went from his biggest boom from 2020 to mid-2021 to an absolute bust in 2022, right as inflation hit.
We are down now almost 1,000 customer visits from one year to the next. So
that equals what he would have paid himself this past year, essentially working for free. Cost of ingredients went up, and increasing his prices could mean losing customers. And he knows people are hurting.
And I don't blame them because the price is so high. You work hard for your money and you should choose how you spend it. The only thing I would say is that if there are some shops that you love, please frequent them. I understand they can't do it as often because it is more expensive, but to make that little effort could save a shop.
As another business shuts its doors elsewhere, businesses are worried as well about what might happen if things don't get better.
The burnout is real, and we've heard it from a lot of business owners, small business owners, saying that they've never worked harder for in their lives, and it's for practically peanuts.
Chotali says across 18 years, this is the worst he's ever had. It's coming as he expanded his business. He says it's worse than the start of the pandemic. Meanwhile, a new shop has been met with a harsh reality.
It's been tough. It's been certainly harder than I was expecting it to be.
She says people are excited a vegan grocer is here, but it's not translating in as many sales as she'd like. She's already had to reduce her hours, in part for her mental health.
It's really hard. When you open a business, I wasn't expecting it. It's like having a baby. She's like a crying baby that just cries and whines, and I'm not complaining. She's beautiful. I'm very proud of my baby.
As for Bornay, he closes his doors at the end of this month with nothing but love in his heart for his customers.
They're so beautiful. They're fantastic human beings, and I love interacting with them. So there's no ill will towards them because, like you said, I do understand what they're going through, and you can't judge anybody for that. These are just terrible, tough times, and this is what happens. Sometimes life throws you a curveball.
How are you feeling today?
Is the right word melancholy? Happy and sad, you know? I got to do something most people will never have the chance to do. So I got to live my dream. So I can't be upset about it.
If you've noticed some Christmas light displays are a little dimmer this year, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. BC Hydro says people are cutting back. And as Cambie Bridge tells us, those whose business it is to put up those lights say they're feeling the squeeze.
I'm with a Christmas lights installation company. You can see them all here. They're going to be putting up a bunch of these Christmas lights all across this house.
500.
About 500 lights. Yeah. Now this year, there are reports that Christmas light installations are scaling down, and this company has noticed it.
We call it, like last year, 2021 was a party, and we're having a bit of a Christmas hangover this year in 2022. We do have strong demand, but it has come off from last year's high. I think there's more price sensitivity out there.
This company also agrees.
We've seen a drop of about 10% or so in sales. A number of our customers who are professional Christmas light installers themselves, they've been telling us they've been seeing drops of about in the 20 to 30% area. People are possibly choosing to travel more and spend less on their home.
A recent study by BC Hydro shows 60% of British Columbians are going for a minimalist approach to decorating. Half say they won't decorate at all. The report found more BC residents are concerned about holiday costs this year. Half said they had less money to spend on holiday decor. But the report also says mega displays will increase by 50%. Cambie Bridge, CBC News, Langley.
So while the lights may not be as shining as bright this year, Santa certainly is. He made his rounds at BC Children's Hospital today, opting to arrive in a helicopter rather than the old sleigh. This is the 18th year that BC Emergency Health Services and Helijet have organized hospital visits with the jolly old elf. Chris Kringle visited 6 hospitals, starting on the island and coming to the Lower Mainland.
The important people are the ones that are there 365 days of the year. Santa comes once a year, and he delivers a little cheer. But it's the people who are there all year that make the big difference.
With the help of some elves, Santa handed out teddy bears and visited with the young patients. Fun to see. And there is BC Place Stadium from earlier tonight, lit up in red and green to mark the 86th birthday of the Aga Khan, the spiritual leader of Ismaili Muslims around the world. So Salgara Mubarak to everyone celebrating that. Johanna's BC-wide weather forecast is next, and it's a study in contrast.
There's been a bridge across False Creek since 1888. These pictures are of the second one, built in 1911. Back then, it was state-of-the-art technology, and it lasted 72 years. In 1982, the city voted 72% in favor of building a new bridge. And finally, last November, they closed the old girl down. The bridge seemed to go up pretty quickly, although for people stuck in traffic because of the diversion, sometimes it didn't seem quickly enough. But this morning, all of those complaints ended. This morning, the Cambie Street Bridge was the place to be in Vancouver. It wasn't just a bridge opening, it was almost like a circus. More than 500 people showed up to watch the performance. There was music from the fire department band and a performance of Vancouver's very own song.
A world within a city that's growing strong.
And when the pageantry was completed, the pomp began. Mayor Mark Harcourt arrived to perform the opening ceremonies and to talk about his next projects.
And then we're going to sit down and talk to our MLAs here about 2 other projects that we want to see built. The Cassiar connector to finally connect the freeway to the Second Narrows Bridge. And lastly, we're finally going to connect that Georgia Viaduct that you whiz across and then come to our grinding halt. We're going to run it down the Malkin Bypass, through the CN Yards, out the Great Northern Cut, and connect it up to Boundary Road into the expanded freeway.
The next step was a blessing.
Bless this bridge
as a symbol of the work of your people and of the dedication of us to you.
Officially open the sidewalk of the Cambie Bridge. Citizens of Vancouver, the Cambie Bridge is now yours.
So there you have it, a brand new bridge to get across, with a view of the city that you may have forgotten during the past year. And you'll probably want to know how to use the new bridge. For now, if you're traveling north towards City Hall from downtown, you can get on the bridge from Nelson Street, with Pacific Boulevard feeding in from the east and Beatty Street from the west. If you're coming from the other direction, heading downtown, you get on from Cambie Street. The only way to get on the bridge from 2nd until the new ramp opens is to head up Yukon and along 7th to Cambie. If that sounds a little confusing, then you may just want to drive over and experiment yourself. We took our first drive this afternoon, and it sure beats driving all the way around False Creek to get downtown. And good news for bus riders. The Cambie Street bus goes back to its old route tomorrow morning. Robert Osborne, CBC News, Vancouver.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back. Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. Stream holiday episodes of your favorite CBC shows like The Great Canadian Baking Show and other festive films on demand on CBC Gem. Check it out at gem.cbc.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver Inbox and keep connected with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Time for our BC-wide weather forecast with meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe. Joe, we're in for some changes, but before that, we get a little treat from outside. Is that right?
Yes, the calm before the, well, ... More on that in a moment.
Events.
But yes, the events. Next 3 days, though, looking like we'll get some sunshine and just below seasonal temperatures. Let me start you off with the weakening cold front that brought but a few spits and spots to Metro Vancouver today. That was basically all it delivered. A few clouds to the interior overnight tonight and a bit of snow, a couple centimeters for places like Cranbrook. Otherwise, Arctic high builds back in for the next couple of days. I say Arctic high, it's really just a Pacific high pressure system bringing down some modified Arctic air. That's why temperatures across the province are sort of 2 to 3 degrees below seasonal Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay, I'm going to track you through, though, to the weekend. This is the first of those events we were talking about, that Arctic front sliding down across the province. So by the time it gets to the southern half of BC, it is going to bring some snow. That's good mountain snow for the interior, and we do need it. We are still in a moisture deficit across most of the province. This is going to make for a messy weekend for Vancouver and still a bit of uncertainty. Looking like we're trending towards more snow than rain, but I think we're going to see both this weekend, starting to snow, changing over to rain, and then back to snow with some accumulations. Again, that's this weekend for Metro Vancouver. Then this is the next event I'm watching. These are overall temperature trends, and that purple is the true Arctic air. So this is Saturday, and look at it spilling down across BC right into Vancouver for Tuesday. That is some of the coldest air we ever see in Vancouver. Still a lot of uncertainty when it comes to how cold we're going to get, but one thing's for sure, it is going to get cold. Some of the extreme models putting us down around -10 or -15. Right now, I'm going to go with this, Dan. If you look towards Monday, Tuesday, still pretty cold. There are still a lot of events going on between Saturday and Tuesday next week. So I'll hone it in. We got 3 days of calm weather before then.
A study in contrasts.
Exactly.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
That is your late news for Tuesday. Thank you for joining us tonight. For news at any hour, check our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1 that begins tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. Have a good night.